So thank you so much for joining me. I'm continuing the series of Women Making History Now, a series on my YouTube channel. And I'm joined today by an incredible woman who's done a tremendous amount, Marie Brathwaite Philip. Marie has worked as a co-founder of Beware, a program coordinator with Women's Treatment Services, the program director with the Crime Victims Office. She's worked with Family Alliance, Domestic Violence Shelter, and been an executive director with the Office of Domestic Violence, as well as the Deputy Commissioner, and covered emergency intervention services. So thank you so much for joining us today, Marie. I really appreciate it.
Good morning, and thank you so much, Amara, for doing this and including me as a part of it.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So Marie, the first question that I'd like to ask you, and I think that, just from talking with you, you've done so much to make history in your role and in your career and throughout the years of your career. I feel like you've made so much history, and I want to ask you, what are you doing to make history now? How does all that feed where you are now and what you're doing now?
Well, Amara, I am happily retired now. And in my post-retirement phase, what I've been able to do is really reflect and collate on all that I have done with so many others, and share that experience, share that guidance, share it as inspiration, sharing that wisdom with others, advocates, activists, my fellow colleagues, and other professionals that are honing their careers and doing the work of helping others. So that feels really special to me, and I'm able to do it in a way that's much more peaceful and meaningful to me at this point in life. And I'm also able to focus, particularly now, on some of the ways in which our helping systems are managing issues of racism, particularly systemic racism, and how that's so much embedded in what this country has as a history, so that we always have to be conscious and actively working on those issues.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you are doing this work. And I think that it's such a just invaluable gift, the fact that you're able to give all of your experience and knowledge in this way currently. I think that's amazing. So Marie, the next question is, what is important to you about the work that you do? What's important to you about it?
Well, Amara, I think that what I would share in response to that question is that I am truly grateful for being able to do this, because it always has been a passion in my life. And when you're able to take that passion and make it work, and have it support you as well, I think that is truly a blessing and a gift. And so what's been important is to continue to share that, and to continue to open doors as I can and support others in the way that they can do that. And I've met so many incredible mentors and teachers along the way. So I feel that, being able to do what your heart is truly invested in. And for me, that's been working with others to help others. And not just doing it one-on-one, but doing it in a way that has truly been able to open doors, impact policy, and to take it from a community level, which is where I started, working with my father, who was very much an activist, and being able to work with the City of New York in Human Resources Administration to impact policy, to really have a voice from community to policy level. And I think that's been the best gift that I could ever have and give.
Yeah, absolutely. That is absolutely phenomenal. Thank you. Thank you, Marie. So can you tell me a little bit about how your work helps others?
Well, I would say that my work has helped many people along the way, given the 40 years of service that I've been involved in and continue to do. For my first real breakthrough in terms of having some idea of an impact of that was in my work with co-founding Beware, which is Brooklyn Women's Anti-Rape Exchange. And that organization is now defunct. It is no more. It was founded back in the early 1980s. And at that time, just briefly, I was working with women in a methadone maintenance agency who were addicted to heroin. And at that time, there were not, just to give you an example, there was legislation just passed in the 1980s at that time, establishing that women needed a different track of treatment services. So prior to that, the treatment services had really been established on the needs of males in that field. So now there was finally a track that could be established for women who had children and who really were affected in very different ways than men. And I was able to establish the first model for women's treatment services within that agency. And that was very special and allowed me to work and to do a lot of exploration, really, because the needs were there, but there was so little available to meet them. And in trying to do that, I began to talk with other professionals, other people in the field who were experiencing the same thing. It was a true dearth of services, particularly for women at that time who were addicted. And what I also came across was the high level of victimization of women. And that particularly in Brooklyn, which is my home, born and raised borough of New York City, there were no services. People had to travel out of the borough to seek services. So in talking to others, we actually in our living rooms began to dream, visualize, and create, and were able to write a proposal to the state at that time, and were funded, and that's how Beware came about.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a counseling service. It was a counseling hotline as well. We did a lot of community. It wasn't one-on-one counseling. It was phone counseling, education, and outreach. So that was my first real experience of impact and making a difference, and particularly pioneering. So that was very special. And since then, I, as I said before, moved on to doing a lot of that same type of work at other levels now as I progressed through in my career, bringing that voice, bringing that sort of working out of the box and thinking of things and ways to do things that really are able to meet people where they are, no matter where we are.
That's just, I mean, I applaud you so much just hearing that you were able to provide that and to lead that and to be part of that. That's just absolutely amazing. And even now in a lot of areas of Brooklyn, there's so many spaces where there's not enough services. So I'm just, you know, it's wonderful to hear that. And Maria, I feel like that's a tremendous difference that you've made, right? Do you feel like is there more that you want to say about how you've made a difference, whether it's with like a community, an individual, an organization?
Well, you know, in my last position as Deputy Commissioner for Emergency Intervention Services, which in short term is basically the area of that agency, which is changing. I think there are some changes as I speak, but it basically was over the it was over domestic violence services, which is the largest network of services in the country, is in New York City for domestic violence shelters and non-residential services. It also included at that time soup kitchens and food pantries, also specialized programs for utility assistance and heating programs. So it was truly emergency intervention. And a lot of what I have done is working with people in crisis. And another program that was very special and that I had the opportunity to build from paper to actuality was a Family Alliance program, which at that time was a program of victim services, which is now Safe Horizons. And that program also now, because it was back in the 80s and early 90s, that program worked with crack cocaine addicted families with the goal of preventing placement of children in foster care. And the particular approach in that program, again, out of the box, working with families in their homes, intensive home-based work, also utilizing acupuncture and other innovative treatments for crack cocaine addiction. So the blend of that really made an enormous difference to families being able to hope to treat themselves, to parents being able to take care of themselves, and also to keep their children and get the support that they needed where they were, in the space that they were in. So that, yeah, it was a groundbreaking program. And though it changed and moved on to other things, it made an enormous difference to the people that were involved at that time.
Yes, yes. And it sounds like the beginning of preventive services.
It wasn't quite the beginning, but it was the beginning of that level of innovative preventive services, because preventive services have always been, not always, but it's been around for many, many years now. It's, you know, ACS at this point, but but it's been around for many years. Back then it was BCW, CWA.
But it sounds like like you said, like the more innovative approach, like now there's, you know, different clinical programs where they go in intensively in the home.
Yes.
And this sounds like the start of that. That's absolutely amazing, Marie. Wow.
And just the tag on right now, that was also, I met Mary Pendergreen in the late 80s, and she was involved in that work as well. And so that was the beginning of many great things that went on to happen with that. I moved to work with Jewish Board later on.
Terrific. This is terrific. I'm honored to meet you, Marie, and talk with you in this way.
So glad that you're doing this. There's so many others that could really enrich and inspire others who just have thoughts, dreams, visions about doing things that,
Absolutely. Thank you. So Marie, if people want to reach you, do you have an email address or a website that you prefer people reach you at?
Well, I'm still enjoying my early retirement.
Okay, gotcha.
So I don't have a website, and I'm really honing in on what I want to be involved with and how I want to do it. And at this point, it's not so much a private practice. It's really, I'm working with Mary. I'm doing a lot of other things with colleagues to really just support and advocate, not really working in the traditional sense. But I will willingly give my email. And if there is particularly other professionals out there who are thinking of different ways of working, and if I can be any support to anyone at any point, and particularly those who are looking at or examining more the ways in which our helping systems are impacted by systemic racism, and want to have more of a voice in looking at that and working through that, because it's not something that a hurdle we're gonna jump over. It's something that we all just have to continuously work at, and it's hard work, and we need support. We have to support each other in doing it, because it's very easy to get burned out, to get tired, to give up, to time out, and you just really can't do that. Always has to be continuous. So my email is mbpinc55@gmail.com.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Marie. And is it okay if I add your LinkedIn page also to the narrative?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, terrific. Yes. Well, thank you so much for this, Marie.
You are so welcome, Amira, and thank you again for all you do.
You're welcome.